Hey, this is Artie Cabral.
This is Sarah Nofke.
This is Stefan Boltz.
This is S. Elliot Brandis, and you're listening to 30
Minute
Author Interviews
with Preston Lay.
Woohoo! Welcome, everybody, to this episode of 30-Minute Author Interviews. Our guest today is author L. Bachman. Thank you for taking time out of your day and coming on 30-Minute Author Interviews.
Thank you.
We've started out this episode, our podcast, with a session we call Two Truths and a Lie. And so if you could give me your two truths and a lie, I haven't been too successful with these, but I'm going to see if I can figure out what is your lie.
Okay. Now, I talked to you earlier and I had told you I struggled trying to figure out this stuff. But I think I got some good ones because we know each other, but we don't know each other that well. So I might actually get you this time.
Sounds good.
Okay. My favorite food is smoked kippers.
Okay.
In the 4th grade, I cleaned a neighbor's yard in exchange for piano lessons. And I convinced a scholarship committee to give out more funds to help all that applied. There was even a photo in the newspaper.
Wow. I don't think I'm going to get this one right because those all sound pretty realistic.
I know, right?
So,
woohoo! One for me.
Yeah, one for you. Let's see. Man, that newspaper one would be cool. I don't know if you play the piano, so man, but that's a good story if that's true. And I have no clue what fried kippers are. So,
it's called kippers.
Kippers. I have no clue what that is. So
they're like sardines.
Okay. Dang. I'm going to go with, since I don't know if you really play the piano or not, I'm going to say the piano one. Cleaning a neighbor's yard in exchange for piano lessons is the lie. Dang it.
That's true.
Is it really?
I really did do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's the lie?
I don't like smoked kippers. They're disgusting. That's my husband's favorite food. And the only reason why I came up with that was because he ate them last night, and I'm like, it's cold outside. I'll let you stay in this time because normally I ban him outside.
That's funny
because they're just gross.
Wow, I have never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's like smoked herring.
Okay.
With like peppers and stuff. It's disgusting. But yeah. No, I don't like those at all. But yeah, I learned piano and I cleaned, and there was an elderly neighbor I had at the time.
Okay.
So she couldn't really get outside, and she had all these pecan trees and stuff, and she just couldn't get out there and clean that up so that her son could mow.
Okay.
And that would just take him too long. So I offered to do it if she would teach me piano, and she did. And the scholarship one is true.
Wow. So what's the whole story behind the scholarship thing? How were you able to convince them?
My favorite part of the story isn't even that it happened. It's that the people years later, after I started publishing, still asked about me.
Oh, wow.
That's my favorite part. I was up for scholarship because my dad's a vet. He's a Marine vet. And they were giving out scholarships to the locals in the area or whoever needed it that was a descendant of a vet. And I had went for it before. It really did help. Well, I had overheard that this time that they were going to give this a bigger amount, but that we're only going to give it to one. And I just didn't understand if they had a bigger amount, why they would just give it to one kid. There was 4 of us. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, if they split it up, and I'm thinking to myself, if they split it up, they could help us all a little bit. Why just give all this help to one? If they're wanting to do something for the community, help us all.
Right.
And I get in there, and they'd already interviewed everybody else, and I'm the last one. And I'm like, I'm probably not even going to get it anyways because I had got it, I think, 2 years prior, something like that. Because I was trying to get into my 2nd or 3rd term. I can't even remember. It's been a while. But I went in and I was talking to them, and I'm like, okay, I'm talking to these, old Marines, these old vets. I'm not going to get it, but they start talking to me about why I should get it and the whole routine that you have to go through. And I told them that I would like to get it but I understand if they didn't because somebody else is getting it, and I'm not going to be upset about it because they're helping somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And they're starting to, we did all the other stuff. And then I asked him outright, I was like, I had overheard that you were going to give it to just one person. I said, y'all are always about helping the community and helping those of us, you know, trying to come up. Why don't you give a little bit to everybody and help us all out a little bit instead of just helping one out a lot? And I had heard some other things, but I knew for a fact that this money thing was a legit thing, what they were going to do. So I asked them about this, and I broke it down for them, what I felt about it. And I told them that they would be doing a lot of good by helping out a little more. Even if it was just a little, that goes a long way. I was like, if you help just one of us, there's 3 others that aren't going to get the help that could probably really use it. And it ended up, because of me, all of us ended up with it.
Oh, wow.
We all got our little amounts. I didn't know at the time. I was told later that I had inspired them to help. I think that was actually the only year they did it like that. Okay. But we were all in the newspaper for having gotten the scholarship. I did not get a clipping. I wish that was one of the clippings I had gotten because I had been in the paper a few times before that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that helped me get to college that year. That helped 3 other people get in. Because financial aid can only go so far. You can only get so many loans. Scholarships really do help.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you still play piano?
Not like I used to. I used to be actually quite good at it. But we moved back down south. Mm-hmm. We were living in Iowa at the time. My dad's health got really, really bad, and we moved back down here, and I didn't have my lessons anymore. I had a little keyboard, but it wasn't the same.
Right.
But I actually used to be quite good at it. I could play the guitar a little bit too.
Oh, okay.
Because my dad was really into music. My husband can play the violin.
Oh.
And my son can play guitar a little bit.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. I only played the trumpet, but I haven't picked up the trumpet since high school, so I don't know if I'm sure I could still play it. It probably wouldn't be as good, though.
My son can play the recorder, though.
There we go.
Which he did not know how, though. That's a new level.
That is.
Of all of its own.
That's funny. So for those of our listeners that don't know who you are, why don't you kind of tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Well, I am Elle Bachman. I write a lot of dark fantasy and horror. I had a release come out last month that was a special edition called Dawn of Blasphemy. It had the first 2 books of my series, the Blasphemer Series, in it. And what's special about that is I actually let the readers and those that are in my little fan group on Facebook vote for what they wanted in as bonus features. And I listened to them, and that's what they got. It was exactly what they voted on. And it wasn't just like the top thing that got voted. It was everything that they even voted on got put in. So they got a preview of book 3, which I'm still working on. There's an in-depth interview. There's a lot of stuff about the origins of how I even came up with the series, some character in-depth. Things like that, because it was a series that I started in a way developing when I was still young, with one of the characters that doesn't show up till the 2nd book, Harvest, named Dante Angeloff. But I ended up at one point going back to an old account I had from when I was a kid. I don't even remember that I had even had it. I'd forgot about it. And I was talking about this series even when I was still a teenager, and I was like, wow, this is a lot older than I thought it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start writing?
I've been asked that question a lot, and it's the answer is it's varied a little bit, but it's been basically the same in what I've said. I can't word for word quote from something, but it was therapeutic for me. I came up in what can be considered a rough household. And as a kid, not being in control of what's going on around you, I found a way to express myself. And that was in writings. for me, the story started off with little things like, I like certain boy bands. What if they met me and they liked me? Then everybody would like me. Just little kid stuff. And then as I got older, I wanted to make my own characters. I got into books, reading my own stuff because I never really liked what the school told me I had to read.
Right.
I think that's all of us. We don't want to read that book, but I really, really found a love of words, of books. I got a hold of Anne Rice's work, blew me away. I knew then and there I wanted to do it, but it was therapy is what it started off being. And then the seed got planted in me after reading Interview with a Vampire. And I was just like, I gotta do this.
So what was it about Anne Rice and her writing that just really made you fall in love with it?
It's the way she would put words together. For me, I can pick up any book and go, these are words. They're in a sentence, just like that they teach in school. But there was something about the way she would use words for me, or she would use a word and I'd understand that it would have a synonym that may be much simpler, but she was using these very long, elegant words, and that really drew me in to loving vocabulary, loving words. I think that actually molded how I speak today, because there's just something about it. I don't know if anybody else has ever felt like that towards a book or towards her work. I'm sure there is, because she's just fantastic. But there's just something about that story, how she could she could tell me what was in my fridge, but using the way she writes to do it, I'd be like, that's freaking amazing. I've got so much cool stuff in my fridge, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things. I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the way she writes. I think she's a really cool person. I don't know her, but from interviews and things I've read, I just really think she's classy, and she is, to me, what authors should be. Very respectful, and I totally said that wrong. I'm sorry. Respectable.
Mm-hmm.
In an age where everybody's hanging out of their clothes, and it's just, that's not how I grew up. I grew up with Anne Rice being my role model. You know, that I don't need to show you what I have for you to be interested in me type of thing.
Makes sense. So you said earlier that you just released late in December, The Dawn of Blasphemy, which is the special edition, and it contains Maxwell Demon and Harvest.
Right.
I read in another interview that Maxwell Demon is actually the second story that you wrote. You never published the first one. Why did you never publish that first story that you wrote?
I had, a long time ago, when I first started off in the field, had no idea what I was doing. And I did write something in a completely different genre. I was making all the mistakes that a lot of indies coming in did. I didn't hire an editor. I edited myself because I didn't have the money. That's a lot of us indies. We deal with budgets.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have big backing from traditional publishing. And I didn't have any of that. So I did the best that I could in a genre that I'm not the best in. And it was out for a little bit, and I completely took it down. I'm like, that's not me. That's not the best that I could do. But after that, I got into graphics, and I got inspired to write again because of the cover I did. The first one I ever did was for a anthology, and one of the writers from that anthology, named Lindy Spencer, when me and her were talking and she found out I wrote, and she just basically took me under her wing and was like, here's what you need to know about being in this business, because she's an indie writer.
Mm-hmm.
She writes crime thrillers and suspense, completely different genre than I do write in. But within a month after just talking to her a little bit, I had wrote Maxwell, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And I started making my contacts and my networking. And Max is the second one I'd ever published, but it's the first of this series. Now, the other work that you cannot find, I made sure you cannot find it because it's god awful. But we all make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I own up to it now. It's not the best I could have done. I've been asked to go back and fix it, and I have thought about it, and I do plan on doing it, but I've got so much going on right now. It's like on the very back burner. It's not anything I'm in a rush to get out.
Right. So your series is called the Blasphemer Series. Can you kind of give people a non-spoiler blurb on what your series is about?
It is a series about good and evil.
Okay.
I strongly believe that every single person has good and bad in them. We may do bad things, not realizing they're bad, or you may do good things, and somebody else will be like, that's the worst thing you've ever done. That was part of what fueled the series. It starts in Maxwell with a fallen angel who has refused his damnation. Because what he did, he believed was good at the time. And that is the springboard. Everything that happens in that first book is why the rest of the books happen.
Okay.
The second book, like I mentioned, brings Dante into it. It picks up about a year after the first one's ended. And you start going into this journey into the world through the eyes of somebody who basically didn't believe in an afterlife, a heaven or a hell. Like, he just never believed in it. Or vampires or werewolves or any of that. He didn't think any of that was real. And then he's thrust into this world where every bit of it's real. And to me, when I approached how he would react to it, I thought, average Joe, how would they react to having everything they've ever thought was not real confirmed as real? And that was the fuel of the series, basically. How do people react in a world like this? What's good? What's bad? And I really played with that throughout the series. I don't mind having at least one spoiler, so I'm going to spoil. I was asked why I don't have Lucifer in the book as a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
He, to me, in this series, he's winning no matter. People are dying. People are going to hell. He's going to win. There's no point in him getting upset. So he's in it, but not as a bad guy, because to him, he's got what he wants, which is to reign in hell. So there's no point in him getting upset. The bad guy is somebody that's not mentioned in the first book, so you don't see them coming. But that's really what the story is about, the whole series. And there is a twist ending that I've only told one person, and I made them swear secrecy. But, I mean, it's really about everything, every myth, everything, good, bad. Well, I mean, I even talk about unicorns at one point, humans' place in all this mess. Like, to me, it is probably going to be the best series for me to write, because I've been sitting on it since I was a teenager. These characters, these situations, things like that.
So how many books are going to be in the series total?
5. I'm writing the third one now. I narrowed it down to 5. It was supposed to be 8. I don't outline, which I've been told is very weird as a writer. Well, I took the James Patterson program. Okay. And he says it's really rare for writers to not have to do that. I did not know that I was special, but apparently I am. But once I started writing, certain things needed to be mentioned sooner. And that started cutting books down. And there's a lot of side stories that I wanted to go into, like the Human Ouija short I have that came out last February. It's a bestseller, or was for a little while. The character Oscar in that is mentioned in this third book, but because I felt he is owed his own story of explanation of him, he ended up with his own story. Okay. There's other characters, like today that we're recording this today. I'm going to be showing up for a book release for Kendra Souter called Chasing Shadows. It'll be out by time this goes live. I have a character from my first book, Maxwell Demon. He shows up in her book.
Oh, wow.
And I was told he was not well behaved. Ishu is his name. He's basically Papa Legba. Okay. In my books, but that Ishu is another name for him. But he was not well behaved. He shows up in her book, Chasing Shadows. And she writes really close genre-wise to me, so it just felt natural that there'd be some hopping back and forth. Okay. And we're actually doing a co-authorship as well, where we blend our stuff more together because they're just so close in timeline.
Right. That's pretty cool. So where did your inspiration from? You said that this, kind of started, I think you said in your teens. So what kind of inspired this series?
Well, I've been asked a lot of questions about the name, where to get it as so young, whatever. For me, I came up with it because Dante, he is a seer. He can see, and his specific gift is seeing into the past. And he paints what he can see. That's his talent. So he expresses his visions in paint. And the title comes from lots of different things, but it mainly came from him because in the story I wrote that he would paint controversial things like Christ on the cross, but it wouldn't be what we would be used to seeing. And so in the original drafts that I had wrote when I was a teen, I called him the beautiful blasphemer, because I would think if somebody did that, they would be called a blasphemer. I also live in the South. I am in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and I am very aware that people would see what I'm writing as blasphemous. So it's basically me giving a nod to I'm aware of what you think of me. And what you think of these books. But as a teen, growing up in a household with my dad's Catholic and my mom's Southern Baptist, I was very aware what I was doing was going to upset somebody. But I just had to get it out of me, Right. It's the writer part, and you have to get it out, or it's never going to leave you alone.
So what do you have planned for your readers in 2017 this year?
Oh, man. Oh, man. Lots of podcasts, lots of interviews, lots of guest slots. And that's just this month.
Wow.
I did do some book trailers for some work. I'm doing a book called Mercy. They can see that on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. That's planned to come out this year. I have another one called Necessary Evil. That's planned to come out. I have a little treat. Fans in that group on Facebook are aware of it, but the world may not know. I have a short story that was in an anthology called Painted Mayhem. It was an anthology organized by TJ Weeks. It raised money for PTSD survivors and those living with it and stuff like that. That short is going to come out as well. All I have to do is basically hit publish and it's out. So it's really ready to go. I'm just waiting to pick a time. I'll have other things coming out, but right now I am very aware that Mercy's coming out and Necessary Evil's coming out. If I get something else done, it'll go out too, but right now those are definites. They are coming out.
Okay. So will book 3 in the Blasphemer series come out this year, or is that going to be 2018?
I'm hoping it will.
Okay.
If it does, it'll be like way later in the year. It's called Ghosts, but I've been working on it. It's one of those things I work on and then I have to put it down. I take the advice of Stephen King. I heard once him or read it somewhere where he said, you write until you want to continue to write and then you stop. That ensures that you'll continue to pick it back up. And that's what I've been doing with Ghosts, because I don't want to write a mess and then have to edit all that out later. I want to write what I feel it needs to have, because I'm really bad to finish chapters or a chapter and then go, I don't like any of it, and just completely throw away weeks worth of work because I didn't like it. And I'm trying not to do that to save time with Ghosts, but if I can get it done, it'll come out later in the year, maybe around August, September. Okay.
Do you ever plan on getting these made into audiobooks? I got into audiobooks late last year, maybe middle of the year, and I'm enjoying audiobooks. Do you ever plan on getting these turned into audiobooks?
I do. I have talked to, and I've promoted that this man will do the narration for the entire Blasphemer series. His name is Tristan Doe. And as it sits right now, he is still the narrator. I know he's been going through some things. It's not my place to say he's going through, but right now he is the narrator. He's got this really great British accent that just really captured that classy vibe that I wanted for this series. And he's basically going to be the voice of Maxwell telling these stories. You can not see, but hear, if you go to YouTube on my channel, there's actually samples of his reading. He's done some really great work with sound effects. I actually used a sample of what he did and did a promotional video for Maxwell out of it.
Oh, wow.
I was just lucky that he gave it to me, because I'm just floored that this guy who's so talented at what he does, because he puts all the sound effects and really pulls you into it, is willing to work with me. But he read the books. He liked the book. He read Maxwell. I hadn't given him Harvest yet. Don't want to throw too much at him at once, you know. Mm-hmm. But he really liked what he read, and that made me very happy. But yeah, Blasphemer Series is going to be audiobooks. I may get somebody else to do some of the other stuff. I am working with a buddy of mine on some other promos, like for not Painted Mayhem, the Painting of Martel, which is the short from Painted Mayhem. Okay. A buddy of mine named Brian Tan gave me some clips that I would like to use in some promos I'm working on for that. So there's a few people I'm in talks with of getting some clips.
Okay. What service or how did you go about trying to find narrators for when you turn them into audiobooks?
There is a website called ACX. Okay. It's where you go for your Audible searches. You can also narrate. That's where you would go to narrate and find somebody to read for. I found Tristan there. I was looking through all these voices. I'm like, I need this gruff, like I was totally had in my head exactly what I wanted. And then I came across his voice. I'm like, no, that's what I want.
Okay. Well, here at the Legendarium, we like to end each podcast episode with a segment we call the Legendary Ending. So these are just kind of some random questions. The first one is, what songs are currently on your writing playlist?
I'm very, very much a fan of rock music from the 90s. Okay. It's what I grew up with.
It's the best.
It is. But I also grew up with what my dad liked, and he liked 60s, 70s rock. So I can go anywhere from Korn's early stuff to Uriah Heep.
Okay.
In a setting. But it's got to be rock or some kind of version of it, because I'm also a big fan of Fleetwood Mac. Okay. But it also depends on what I'm trying to go for, because I'm a big fan of that. That's what I listen to. My boss at Burning Willow can testify that every time he calls me, I'm listening to that. But there was a scene in Maxwell. It's the very, very last scene. Mm-hmm. Was actually inspired by Pentatonics. Okay. There was just something about the song that just pulled that out of me. And I was like crying and boo-hooing, and I'm like, oh, the readers aren't going to like it, but I like it. But it really captured the way their voices sound. That song really pulled it out. Okay. I've mentioned which song it is. I can't think of the title of it right now, but that song, if it wasn't for that song, that ending of that book would have been way different. Oh, okay. If you were stuck in a zombie apocalypse, which one of your book characters would you want to be stuck with, and why? Ooh, that's a good one. Can it be characters not written yet? Sure. Okay, that didn't help, but thanks. I don't know why I asked, but okay, it just opened up more for me. I guess it would have to be Maxwell. Okay, why's that? He's a scrapper angel. Because I write all the angels, they have armor over their wings to protect them and stuff. Mm-hmm. And all of them kind of have a weapon that they fight with. Like the Angel of Death fights with 2 whips, whereas Maxwell, he just will fight with whatever he can get his hands on. Okay. Rock. He beats up somebody with a rock in that book. And plus, if stuff gets bad enough, he can just fly me out of there. There you go. But there we go. It'd have to be Maxwell or Gabriel. Okay. Now, if you were stuck in a zombie apocalypse,
with any book or any character from anything, comics, books, movies, television shows, whatever, who would you want to be stuck with and why?
Deadpool. Deadpool.
No explanation needed with him.
It's Deadpool.
That's right, it's Deadpool.
If not Deadpool, let me think. Wolverine.
Okay. If you had a time machine, where would you travel and why?
Oh God. Now I've been asked this question in various different ways. Like who would if I could eat dinner with anybody from the present or now dead or whatever. I would want to go, and I always usually say something along these lines of, I would want to go back to the crucifixion of Christ. I'd want to go to something biblical to see for myself.
Okay.
Because that's how I very much am towards things. I want to see it for myself, see what really happened. I don't like being told this is what happened. I want to see for myself. I want to read the book myself. I want to see the movie myself. But it would have to be something biblical because that stuff is so global. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody knows what that stuff is. And I just want to know for myself.
Okay. And if you could choose one superpower, what would it be and why?
Probably anything that Mystique can do.
Okay.
You know, X-Men, she can shapeshift. I'm a nerd. Stuff's coming out. Can't help it.
That's all right. And then, of course, the question that we're famous for. A penguin walks through the door right now wearing a sombrero. What does he say and why is he here?
I'm just going to go with what I said the first time you ever asked me that and threw me off. And I think it was something along the lines of whatever my son said, which was offering me a flower.
Okay.
Because that is the worst. Like, it's the worst question to try to answer, but it's like the best question because it totally throws people off. Because I'm just like, I don't know, I'll get my kid in here, this little 7-8-year-old in here to ask this question.
That's funny.
Answer it. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Good job. You stumped me with that. I stumped you with the 2 truths and a lie.
You did. And then
we're even.
Yeah, we're even. Before we leave, do you have any advice, whether it be for writing or for life, that you would like to share with our listeners?
Ooh. I've been asked so much, so let me think. Because I used to actually kind of, I don't want to say train, but I used to have a lot of writers come to me and ask how I pull emotions out. How do I do this? When you're writing, remember your 5 senses. Mm-hmm. You know, your sight, you smell, you taste, and then write in a way that the reader will know what the character is experiencing because they can relate through their senses. They know what stuff tastes like. They know what stuff feels like. Write in a way that the reader can understand. That's why I'm in such awe of people that do sci-fi, because that's world building on a whole new level. Right. You know, because they got to come up with stuff, and then, like, I don't even know how to do it. It's great that they can do it. 'Cause I'm just like, whew. Yeah. You do you, because I can't do it.
There we go. And where can our listeners go if they want to find out more about you or your books?
Writer Bachman on Facebook is my page. I have a website. It's not a .com. I'm cheap. But you can Google me, and I Googled myself yesterday and found out I'm actually quite popular. I was shocked.
There we go.
I'm like number 1, number 3, number 9, number 5.
Okay.
Something. Just Google me. You'll find me. I'm all over the place. Twitter. Okay. Author L. Bachman. Facebook. Several times. I'm on Instagram, but I can't upload anything because I don't have this fancy phone. Okay. So it's just like an app on the computer. You know, you can find me on the Burning Willow website because I am in their graphics department. Okay. Doing what I do.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for taking time out of your day and coming on 30-minute author interviews. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, guys, that's all the time we've got for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to 30-minute author interviews. We hope you come back next Wednesday and every Wednesday for a brand new episode. Head on over to legendarium.com and check out the show notes for this episode. Elle Bachman is going to be giving away 5 ebook copies of her book, Dawn of Blasphemy. The show notes can be found at leighngendarium.com. So head on over and get registered. And until next time, guys, remember to always stay legendary. And if you would, wait and subscribe. It weighs about 250.